Hey, Shady Gang. Welcome to the end of season report. I am CrunkChocolate. EOSR is a part of Shades of Blue content season, bringing you an episode every other day throughout the summer. Where other podcasts, they go on holiday or vacation, we continue to bring the wave of content. We are here for you at Shades of Blue. So, what is End of Season Report, you ask? It is where I bring a correspondent for each club in the Premier League and I talk about the 23-24 campaign. There are 5 categories: kits, manager, squad, supporters, and season. Each category will be graded on the American grading scale, and naturally we'll dissect the ratings. Sounds easy enough, no? Today's guest, en la casa está la familia, Shady Gang. In the house, we got family. He's had me on his podcast. Shout out to NAFTAA. He's been on the lit stream where he wowed and impressed Shady Gang. When I thought to myself, I said, hey, Crunk, who should I have on to chat about the best team in the land and all the world with? One guest. He just stuck out. He's one of the first people I thought of. It is just his perspective on the club is what I truly appreciate. Let's get to the city talk, shall we? Shady Gang, give it up for John!
Not my character, but thank you for having me, man. Pumped to be here as always. And to go off of the a little Spanish of being in your house, si se puede. Let's get it done. Let's do it. Love to talk.
Hey, let's go.
Ready to go, man. It's a great day to talk about City. It is a day after we just clinched the 4th Premier League title in a row, and we got a few days until we can lift another FA Cup. So if you were hoping to not hear the City chat on this one, don't turn it off. Give Crunk a stream for sure. Put it on, but you can turn it down low. But we're definitely going to dive in here. Let's get it done.
City, all the city. That's all we're talking about today, baby. We're going to dig into it. But first, let's talk about you a little. Let Shady Gang, for those who aren't familiar, know a little bit about you and your podcast, NAFTAA.
Love it. Third time on with you. Like we've done a couple pods together, so really excited. So I know I've said this before. NAFTAA, nobody asked for this at all. It's our podcast. We do an episode after every match week. Sometimes that's 2 weeks. Sometimes that's 1 a week. You know how the Premier League title pictures go. So this is our 4th season, just wrapped up. Not coincidental, all 4 City with championships. We have a little unique dichotomy on the pod. It's 2 sets of brothers. My brother and I started it. He's a Liverpool fan named Michael. And then a year and a half in, I was on my honeymoon. We invited one of our buddies on who's a Wolves fan, Dylan. And then he invited his brother, Nick, onto the pod, who's a Man United fan. So we actually got a pretty good mix. Nice. Yeah, we got a pretty good mix of opinions, teams, rooting interests, ways of viewing how ever VAR is ruling on things on the pod. So it's actually like a pretty good setup. And again, 4 years in, we do a pod every week. We've only missed 5 weeks in 4 years. And we usually do a pretty good summer series too. Excited to get that started. So yeah, give us a listen, man. All streaming networks.
Hey, we'll have it plugged in the show notes for you, Shady Gang, so you can make sure you handle and see all things NAFTAA. All right, let's get into this. Let's talk about these kids. Oh man, because they were much maligned like they are every single year. Honestly. Let's talk about let's start with the home kit. The blue. People weren't a fan of the striping. It does look like a little bit like a tire, like a real dope couture tire drove on it. I don't have it. I have the 3rd, and I have ordered the away. I will not be getting.
I think it's the move.
Yes.
I think it's the move. I think if you wanna go into it, the home kit could have used like the Pirelli sponsor. That'd have been dope. Just with the tire tracks on it for sure. I didn't hate it though. Like
Yeah.
it was a decent kit when the season started. Again, I wasn't like sold on it, but I think we also were spoiled last year. Like that home kit last year was like an all
Yes.
timer with the
Yes.
center crest and like the maroon accents and whatnot. It was a B for me. And you know what? When they added the FIFA Club World Cup thing, I actually liked it less.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Oh, you
like I
liked
was
it
like, eh.
less. Okay. I
I
know people who
did.
liked
I
it
was like,
more.
yeah, I think the people who liked it more are probably correct because it gave a little bit more symmetry across the chest.
Yes.
I,
Yes.
for some reason, I was like, all right, like we did it, we won. Like let's move on. We've been there before. Not we haven't been there actually before. That's a good point. But we won those things before, so I just wanted the kit to be normal. But just a B minus probably for me on
Mhm.
that one.
Yeah,
What
I'm
about
with
you?
you. I'm not gonna argue. Yeah, B. It's okay. If next year or in the summer it pops up somewhere free, if there's like, or not free, obviously I'll take a free kit. But if it pops up somewhere real cheap,
Yeah,
or even when I'm going to these city matches, they're gonna be in kind of bigger cities. I'm hoping there's gonna be some kind of like kit swap event type of vibe so I can get some
yeah.
really cool kits. And I'm going to be at New York and in Chapel Hill for these city games. I will be making lots of content. I will be kicking it with a lot of people that I've connected with. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good time.
The link up will be real. I will remind you. You got to hit me up when you're in New York.
I'm going to. Yeah. Yes.
We're
Yes.
here in Brooklyn, but like I'm gonna make the trek. I'm gonna definitely be at the game, and then anything that you got going on during the week, let me know. We can figure it out. But yeah, I'm excited for that match. Milan at Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium's an absolute shithole. Sorry for
Yes.
cussing.
Oh,
But
you're fine.
like, yeah, I know. But to see City play a team like Milan is
Yeah,
just
that's gonna
awesome
be
to me.
really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the homie Sal from Curva Mundial, he's gonna be there because he's uh he's an Inter fan though, but he's
Yeah.
just gonna go because it's AC Milan. And
There's an amazing Italian football following here in New York. Like
yeah,
they do it really well. There's a couple of bars here in Midtown that like they'll have the Juventus game, but they'll also have the Bologna game on. There's like it's a pretty good setup here. So if you're in New York and you're listening to Crunk and you're like, man, I actually follow this Italian team, there is a bar that will play the game for you. So look that up too. Spread
yeah,
the game.
yeah. I'm excited to tap in, and I haven't been to New York, so I'm gonna be there for a few days. I'm gonna do the whole, maybe not entirely tourist thing, but I'm gonna do like the tourist thing where I'm gonna travel a lot and
Yeah.
see all of the things. But I don't want to do like Times Square. I don't want to do any of those things. I just
Yeah,
want,
I got you.
but I want to do all the food. I do kind of want to check out every borough, experience them. Luckily I think I have a friend in each borough, so I am lucky that way. I'm kind of blessed. So
There you
yeah,
go. There you go.
I'll be in touch. Uh,
Love it.
Obviously we are not moved by the home kit because we quickly moved on. Let's
Yeah.
go to the away, which was my favorite of the three, and it was the most hated originally last year before the kits dropped. When like the photos first came out, this
Yeah.
one got shit on. They're just like, I hate this one, I hate this one, I hate this one. It
No.
looks like United, blah blah blah. It has a collar, I hate it, and I love it. It is gorgeous. I think it's gonna be one of those kits that in like 3, 4, 5 years down the line, people are gonna be like, we were actually super wrong about this kit. It's kind of classic.
You and I are screaming from the same mountaintop here because it was an A plus for me. Let me get to the grade really quickly. A plus,
Yes.
hands down, easily. Living in New York and living in Brooklyn, obviously, I'm getting the influx of every summer fashion trend that is going on. And if you are not wearing a 70s inspired football kit in the borough of Brooklyn, like you're just kind of out of style right now. And this kit was amazing. It had 70s vibes. I wanted to go like drink some natural wine on a roof with it on, with maybe like some corduroy, like just it just felt great. It felt amazing. It was a beautiful kit, and I think that like if you're going to judge the book by its cover, I get that some people were like, what is this? It looks kind of funky. But it was one of those kits where it's like, if you know, you know. And as
Mm-hmm.
soon as they wore it the first time, and especially with the shorts that contrasted,
Yeah.
like it looked amazing.
Yes.
And again, you can wear these with jeans. You can. This is a
Yes.
kit that you can wear not at a soccer game and not doing soccer activities. It will look good. You will look good in it. And I think that we did a very good job of branding it, but also Liverpool is kind of on the same wavelength. They did their home kit with like a little 70s photo shoot, and I thought that one looked incredible too. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was just the vibe this season for kits that looked really good. So A plus, if I could do A plus plus, I would. This one was a home run, absolutely unbelievable.
Yes. And finally, the Lightning kit, it was inspired by, this was the one for the youths. This was for the
Yeah,
kids. And, and it did. It sold, oddly enough. Like I said, I have it. I
yeah.
also got it for Christmas. It was bought for me.
There you go.
I was very happy with it. And so, yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
The marketing team said, "What does Gen Z make a kid out of?" And then they made it. No,
A
it was a
thousand
B
percent.
plus. It was good. It was a good kit. You know what's interesting? I think of our third kits, and we've actually fumbled the bag a decent amount on these third kits recently. The gradient one that was like the pink to
Yeah,
orange type
Sunshine,
setup.
Tequila
I
Sunrise.
I called it the Sex on the Beach kit. It was terrible. Hated that one.
I have it.
But do you, bro? I'm a bigger guy. I don't have to throw
Hey,
that shit on, bro.
hey, nobody. No, I feel you. No, it's a very awkward one, and I wear it a lot only during the summer. Only during the
Yeah,
summer because it's
big
a
time.
fun summer. Yeah.
So that was one I thought of. I am probably in the minority here because I was just waxing poetic on like 70s vibes, but like the Paisley one for me too, like I just didn't get that one and I didn't personally wear it. The
Mm-hmm.
one that this reminded me most of though was the Manchester third kit where they had like it was a tribute to like the music venue that was
Oh
in
yeah, yeah,
Manchester
yeah,
and it
yeah,
had like
yeah.
the like I don't know what you call it, caution tape style piping on the side and whatnot. I like that one a little bit better than this one, but I did like this one. I thought it was good. It was a nice transition kit. It was a nice third kit. Gave it a B plus. Could be worse. I've seen worse kits. We've had worse kits.
We have
So
it's 1,000% the gamers kit. When
yeah, yes,
when my friend, she went to the games out in the Asia games,
yeah,
and there was an event where they had their Man City team was there, and they played some demos against people, and FG was there, and that was the whole place was like lightning everything, and it was
yeah,
everybody was wearing the kit and stuff. So that's where that kit rung, and I feel like that's what in theory we're going to get every single year. So I'm very interested in what our third kit is going to be, because
yeah.
we already seen the home, we seen the away, and they're both nods to the past. Well, I mean, the away kit, they just straight up just remade it.
Yeah.
They didn't even like reimagine it. They're like, nope, here's this kit again, guys. Are you happy? And then I love the home one. I mean,
I was gonna ask.
I love it. It literally
Yeah,
looks like a shirt, and I understand why they took the word shirt literally. And I can understand why people will hate it, but it's very similar to the away kit, where I think if you are astute enough or cool enough, you know how to dress, you can do a lot of really cool things with this shirt.
I I bought the original away kit in Mexico City this past summer, actually, and I got it for like $18. So certainly not real. But the Gillingham team, the when we beat them to move on in the playoffs, that kit being iconic and that kit being our away kit now. Like I bought the OG one, and I do agree. Like you can definitely screw that color scheme up and that kit up. I think from the renderings and what I've seen so far, it looks like it's going to be all right and it looks like it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
But you are towing a fine line when you are
Mm-hmm.
doing the highlighter and the stripes on there. But I think it looks good, and I love the new home. I think the new home's going to be a classic, especially if it's maybe Pep's last year. I think that'll be one that we always look back on pretty fondly as
Mm-hmm.
well. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with the Manchester numbers on it,
Mm-hmm.
Shout out. shout out. Okay, cool. We'll keep them moving then. Let's talk about our fearless bald leader, Pep
Yep.
Guardiola. I mean, this was supposed to be our down year. This was the year that this time last year we dubbed on our show the season of vibes, because that was all we could mentally accept. We knew that a treble, well, we thought a treble wouldn't be possible, and we were pretty close actually. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this I have I have to give him and everybody, we over exceeded expectations, which is insane to say, especially when when we get to it with a squad, there were individuals who definitely didn't exceed expectations. But I think Pep
Sure.
and his genius, I mean, naturally, our games weren't as beautiful. We
Yep.
won more games by smaller margins, but now that we're here, the domestic double right around the corner, hopefully,
Yep.
this is a wonderful, wonderful season by Pep Guardiola.
So yes, and if you remember when I jumped on the lit stream, it had to have been like a month ago or so. I put in what I wanted to talk about, and I think that I was so aggressive about some of the topics that you were probably second guessing. You're like, is he a City fan? I forget, because I was pretty hard on Pep. I was, and I went on there and I was like, dude, I feel like there's certain games that he's gotten out coached, and I think that there's certain games that it just didn't seem like the creation and the imagination was there. But let me lay out some bullet points that I think are
Yeah.
going to come up again with the squad and with whatever. I was thinking about it today. I'm walking the dog. No, I'm jumping on here with you. Want to make sure that I'm bringing the energy and everything that I have to this pod. My first thought was this team on paper was not as good as last year's team. One. I think that's one. I think that there was a lack of depth, even though I listened to the Athletic Pod, I listened to two other podcasts. I think the Men in Blazers one that talked about how, the depth got us through it. And sure, maybe it did, but we've had more depth and better depth in past years. So that's number one. I think this team just in general wasn't as good on paper as last year's team. I also, and we talked about this last time, the contributions from first year players
Yeah.
on this squad was so much greater than any other season that he's been here, because he does have that tendency to bring someone in and not really let them play too much until they really get the system down. And we couldn't afford to do that this year.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to talk about the team a little bit later. Obviously, I think that's a plus for them, but like I want to acknowledge this. And then third, dude, I think that the coaching in the Premier League is just getting that much better. And I think that that makes it harder sometimes if you are constantly watching City and you are a fan of Man City and you feel like you know how Pep coaches and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that you can be a little bit harsher on him than you normally would be with any other coach. I think that Arteta is a great coach. Can't get over the hump yet, which I'm sure we'll get to. Klopp was such an worthy adversary of Pep that he started crying in the post game, basically the other day when they talked about what Klopp meant to him.
I know,
Um,
that was
it,
interesting. I wasn't
it,
expecting that.
yeah, I think that there's such a mutual respect between those two, and I think when you go to battle, I honestly was thinking about it as like a Magic Bird scenario where it was like
Yeah.
they like love each other, like
Yeah.
deep down now, right? Like they
Yep.
definitely hated each other in the moment, but that is what it felt like for me. And then it's like managers are a lot like goalkeepers in the Premier League. Every team has a good one. Now, there's certain teams that have really great ones, and
Yeah.
every team has a pretty good one. And those margins are so fine and so thin that any team can beat any other team. So I think that those are things that I was looking at the season, and I was like, damn, I feel like he got a little bit outperformed. But that is to say that once the Christmas window happened, and once we went on from the fixture congestion of the holiday season, we did what we always do. We don't lose. We drop points every once in a while on a draw, but we
Mm.
win most of the games we do, and that's what ends up getting us all of these titles. And I think that he steadied the ship. Now, I'd give him a solid B, because I think his
Oh.
best coaching performances were the I think the Centurion season was incredible. I don't think
Yes.
he had all of his guys, right? I don't think that he had everyone that he needed. And to get 100 points in the Premier League is insane. I think that that's
Yes.
one of the key ones. I also think it's incredible that I'm not going to mention the treble season of last year, but the fact that we won the Premier League with no striker 2 years ago, and like he just figured that out, and he figured out patterns of play to be able to have us do that was insane. Not only that, we like staved off a Liverpool team that wanted to win, right, and like was in it to win it. So I feel like those 2 seasons are his two best. This one I'll give a solid B, B plus. Like it wasn't bad. And again, we're grading on a scale or on a curve. We're grading on a curve. That's what I meant. Like he's so good that a B plus season is someone's A plus plus plus
Right.
season, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so I'm harsh on him, but I think that this ended up being a solid B, B plus.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, because the quote unquote failures that we've had, the losing Aston Villa by 1 goal, and that was the only goal in the match, are the draws and mishaps with Arsenal and Chelsea. All of that is because Pep was outclassed in that moment. Pep either was too tentative, and the team fed off of that, and that's kind of the problem with having all of these either young players or players who stepped up, who needed the time to kind of get their stuff together. Like
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Walker, obviously, he had his whole other nonsense that he had going on at the first half of the season, but the second half of the
Yeah.
season, he was our rock. He was great.
Yeah. A
He was
very
important.
eloquent way to put that, by the way. You can tell you're a professional at this. Way to go. Yes. Very eloquent.
Thanks. At times, I'm not sure, but I do. I was like, okay, thank you. So I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no worries.
And it's just been a ride. And I think Pep has just had to do what he's had to do, because he says all the time, hey, I make my choices based off of what I am seeing by
Yeah.
them. So I feel like when we were struggling, when we were tentative, to me, that was just Pep being like, hey, they ain't got it like that. So I'm like, why am I going to put them in a situation to be aggressive when they aren't that? And then we're going
Yeah,
to lose. So
for sure.
it's kind of what I have to do now. I mean, the entire time when he like speaks negatively of Phil and he's not putting Phil where he needs to be, he's being honest with it. He's like, hey, yo, Phil just he's always in sixth gear, always in sixth gear. You can't live life in sixth gear. Also, you need to track back some. Look at what he did against West Ham. He was everywhere.
Yeah.
He was everywhere. Offense, defense. He was, and that is gonna carry on to the next season. If he's gonna play next to obviously this is squad stuff, but just quickly, if he's gonna play next to KDB next season, which he
Mm-hmm.
can do. Pep has acknowledged that he can do.
Mm-hmm.
He just can't go for the killer blow every time he touches the ball, because KDB does that, and KDB gives the ball away too much. So it's like they both can't be just giving the ball away. Rodri will die.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also like really good to acknowledge, because I do feel like, player of the year, he deserves to be talked about a decent amount. This dude's
1,000%.
23.
Yeah.
This dude's 23. Like we're not even we're getting to the prime. This isn't even the prime, and like I think that there's still a few things that he's going to get to learn, and this season and this next season, that he is going to be the talisman of this team moving forward. Just because I cannot imagine him in another kit in another jersey. Please don't ever let that happen. He's homegrown. Like keep him
1,000%.
right.
Wow.
But I think that like I forget that he's 23, because it feels like he's been here forever too. Like,
I mean, he
played
has.
at 19. Yeah,
He has.
so truly has, truly has. But
Yeah.
I hear you. I think that I'm harsh with a B or B plus. I think this year I got super impressed with the squad itself, which I'm sure we'll jump into.
Which we can just move right on to the next category, which is the squad. Grade your players' performance. I mean, you already said that this season is you were more impressed by the players than our manager. And it's funny how I'm like, how dare
Yeah.
you? Not even like a how
Exactly.
dare you. But honestly, that's what I say about Gareth Taylor on the City Women. I'm just like, I
Yeah.
think our women excelled and they're making Gareth look good. And we have Nils Nilsson who's come in and he's doing his thing and getting the players in and has them all feeling all confident because they feel secure, nice. And then we got Gareth being Gareth. And I
Yeah.
mean, obviously he's earned a lot of credit from us. So I mean, good on him, I guess. But we're not here for him. We're here for Pep and we're here for the squad.
Yeah.
Phil Foden, yeah, star boy.
I I think for me, and I gave them an A minus. And
Yes.
again, it is borderline blasphemous to say what I said about Pep. I totally get that. I acknowledge that. The lack of depth that I've mentioned before, I think really plays into this grade for me because I do feel like you forced Pep slash the board slash whomever really forced this team into the most uncomfortable season that they've had ever.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, you had players again playing way more than they should. That's also more of an FA thing, I guess, than our team playing way more than they should, going and doing totally different roles than what we should have signed them for. Vardiol to think of, and again, to have that many players in a first year at City contribute as much as they did is really rare, right? So I think when you take into all those things into effect and into account, for me, I really felt like the leadership of Rodri, the leadership of Kyle, the leadership of Kevin when he came back, because I think there's inflection points for sure in the season that I can acknowledge here in a second. But like
Mm-hmm.
when Kevin came back, you had that leadership that was lacking when Gundo left. I think that the security on the wings when Mahrez left was lacking at the beginning of the season, and like we had to have um, our wingers learn that again and to be like, hey, we want to control with the wings. It doesn't necessarily mean like go right to the byline. And Doku's amazing with that, but like we also wanted him to learn like, all right, pull it back. We need possession right now. Let's give the defense a break. So I think that it's obviously Pep's system. He's the manager. But the amount that they were able to achieve when they were not really set up to be the most successful team that we've ever had, I think is incredible. I talked about inflection points. I wanted to bring this up. I think that there were three moments in this season, or a few moments in the season, that really talked about the grit of this team. First is like the November 12th to December 16th window, where it was the draw against Chelsea, the draw against Liverpool, the draw against Tottenham, the loss to Villa, and then the draw to Palace, right? Like that is where we dropped the
Mm-hmm.
majority of our points. And I think that it would have been really, really easy for this team to say, A, we don't have the depth anymore. B, Rodri's injured. Kevin's not even back yet. We just want to treble. Like we're gonna kind of take the season off a little bit. We're gonna have a hangover. I think what ended up happening is that rolled right into the Club World Cup, and they got to travel together, and they got to play some competition where they can actually figure out what was wrong tactically, and they won. And I think that that was really key for them to win that trophy, which for the most part is meaningless. Let's be honest, but like to
Mm-hmm.
go together, to come together as a team, win that trophy, I think that was key. I think that the 3-2 win at Newcastle was humongous. I think that was maybe the biggest game of the season for us.
Ooh,
Like
yes.
I think it was Kevin back. I think it was really proving that players like Oscar Bob can make an impact on this team and that we need to win these games. And I think that it gave them the momentum. You're always going to have little hiccups. The 1-1 draw to Chelsea, I don't even really think of anymore. It just happens. And then
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the season, there was the survival. It was 1-1 to Liverpool. That's fine. We want to win, but 1-1's totally fine. It's 0-0 to Arsenal. Yes, we want to win, but like let's not drop points to these guys, right? And it ended up biting us in the ass against Madrid because I do think we outplayed them both legs, but like sometimes that's football and that's what happens. But it's like the survival mentality of doing everything you can not to drop points, I think really helped us out. And then I think the run up to the end was Phil Foden saying, "No, I'm Player of the Year," and I think that's the season. That's like if you had to synopsize this entire season, that's what it was. So I give it to the team. I give it to the squad this year. A for me. outscoring, grading Pep, but Pep's still with a solid B plus. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. So what? I mean, this is what I. This is why we can talk forever, because you talk one point and then I'm like, oh yes, and then I want to talk at this other point. So I'm gonna just work my way down through things.
Do it.
So first off, let's give you tons of credit. I agree with you with all your points that were like very key moments. Club World Cup, 1,000%. That I feel was the biggest moment, because that was them being able to spend a week and a half in the same place together, getting to actually know each other. Because for the most part, it was just they were playing games over and over and over again. And even then, it's just play a game, go home, rest, come the next day. You sit in a room, we run things through. The next day, you play a game, do that over again. You're not really being like, oh, hey, what's your name again? What do you like to do? That was the time for them to all hang out in luxury, a beautiful place, weather. They can hang out and just play some games, get to know each other, figure out what they prefer on the pitch, because a lot of in that is conversation. It's not learning each other on the pitch. Yes, that helps, but a lot of it is off the field stuff.
It's human level, man. Like I've never seen a team in any sport, and you've played sports, and we've talked about this in the past. Like, I've never been a part of a great team that didn't know each other at a human level, right? Like that's how you end up getting cohesion. That's how you end up knowing where the person's going to be and pass it to them. And like there's such elements of like, I don't want to say becoming friends, but like it is literally like you're learning about this person outside of the sport is going to help you in the sport. And I think that's, to your point, like that is what happened on that trip. They got to learn each other and they got to know each other, and like it was a little bit more relaxed. I think that was amazing. Like most of the time, that Club World Cup fucks teams up because it's too many games. They got to travel to God knows where FIFA wants them to go. And like it totally screws them up. I think for this one, it's a rare occasion where it like brought them together.
Yes, 1,000%. And because they were actually playing less games, and the quality was still as good, but the intensity of the game, because of just the teams that they're playing in the leagues that they're playing. Yes, Urawa, they're super intense, but Fluminense and oh my gosh, whoever else they played, those leagues, their styles, it's more of, it's not a taking you out on the ground. It's more of a, we're gonna bide our time, take our time. We're gonna choose when we want to run, but we're not gonna be running up and down. And it was great for our players, because some of them needed that rest. Some of them needed some lack of intense English football, because I was watching an interview with Pep, and he did it with Sky Sports, and it was their first interview they did with him, and they just asked him the same questions again. And the first thing he said when he got here was like, these people don't chill. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, these people don't chill. Like, there will be a match that you think is in hand, but the people don't quit. They're always pushing. They're always trying to win one last corner, and then you end up losing a match. So, and he reiterated that, and that intensity in the Premier League is what really helps us in the Champions League, because we're just always ready and we bring that intensity. But also when we do things like Club World Cup and we play leagues that don't play such an intense style, it fits with us, especially with us playing possession, because a lot of these physical teams, they don't play as techie. But when City plays techie, they kind of feed into these other leagues that want to play a little bit of technical and take their time and stuff like that. But also we can run you over and push you out the way. So it's just it's a great combination. And Vardiol, I have been the one person who's been banging against this whole, hey, where else are you going to play him? Because you see the quality in him as a center back, but there's no way you're going to play him over John Stones, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake. Like, so you have to put him somewhere. He's also incredibly athletic, and he's actually the perfect left back. Like, and this is what like angers me, when people are just like, he's playing him out of position. I'm like, no, he's revolutionizing left backs with Vardiol because he has the speed. He's everything Zinchenko thinks he is. He has the size and the speed to handle set pieces. He has the technical ability, obviously, to pass and all of that stuff. He, with being a left back, you don't have as intense defensive responsibilities, which that was his weakness early on in the season, which it which all went down to awareness. The
Yeah.
speed of the game was just too much for him at a moment. You could just tell that he would lose the ball, and once you lose the ball, it's over. And that's all it was. He just kept losing the ball.
Yep.
He was like, it was just right at my foot, and now it's over here, and now they scored. What happened? And now he just knows where everything is, and he's scoring. He is the perfect left back. I don't want him to change. I want us to try to find 6'5" left backs from now on, and just that's the way that we need, because if we want to, he can move back to the part of the back three, or he can help and aid the attack. Like if we just get Frimpong, I'm going to lose it. That is my perfect back line. We can handle any situation, anybody, especially with our array of center backs. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm horned up thinking about him right now.
Totally, totally agree. I think when I came on the Litcast too, like I was one of those people that was knee jerk about Vardiol. Not that he was playing out of position necessarily, but like some of the decision making, which essentially you're alluding to, was for me. I was like, man, what are we doing? I think what ended up happening for him was when you got Rodri back in and playing on form, having that safety blanket of the CDM for him to know where Rodri was going to be too, he started making smarter decisions, and he started making maybe a little bit more progressive decisions, and knew that his track back could be a little bit easier because we had that CDM and Rodri like helping out. But I definitely, like, beginning of the year, man, I was sitting there and I was like, what was this 90 million, 100 million? What did we spend on him again? And totally was proven wrong, essentially from the time I went on the Litcast to now, where it's like this past month could not keep him out of the team sheet.
No, not
Like,
at all.
wouldn't have made sense. Him
No.
and Foden and Rodri are your first three in there, like, easily. And I do agree. The goal that he scored, second to last game of the season or third to last game of the season, where he looks like a winger. Like, nobody's left back is doing that. I don't care. Nobody's left back's doing that. So I'm with you. I can put my hand up. I'm a grown man. I can say I was wrong about something, and like I'm so excited to see his development next season too.
Yeah, and last thing is, it was just a really weird season for our team. Obviously, the Haaland injury, the KDB injury, Grealish never really being able to get off the ground, Stones was inconsistent. Obviously, Walker took some time to get adjusted to his new offensive responsibilities, which was at moments carrying our offensive attack, which I fucking hated. Kova and Nunes couldn't ever be good at the same time, which was incredibly frustrating. Nunes, sorry. Nunes has all but disappeared at the second half of the season, and his most successful stint of this year, I still laugh at it. It was when people wanted him to become a winger. It wasn't him as a midfield. It was him out wide. And that was simply just because he had space. Pep was just like, okay, you don't know what to do. Take the ball out wide. Have the ball out wide. Figure some things out. If you get into a corner, turn around, pass to a player. Other than that, don't do anything. And people, and that's what frustrates me, because people saw him doing that and they thought that was a good thing, and it's just like, actually, Pep is sending him out there as a punishment because he needs him as a player, but he can't trust him to do anything. He's a midfielder. We know Pep loves the midfield, yet he has him playing on the wing. That's not a good thing.
I'm right there with you. I didn't want to get too harsh on anyone because we just won.
Yes, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Totally,
but this is a conversation. We're having a conversation.
Hey, I'm not saying what you said was wrong. I'm prepping people for what I'm about to say. Essentially,
okay, let's go.
Yeah. So I told you Dylan on our podcast is a Wolves fan. When we bought him, he was just like, "Thank you." Like, he's like, "This guy's not gonna do anything for you." Like, and I was like, "There's no shot." we never really have had big misses when it comes to the transfer market. Like we actually do our due diligence really, really well. It's really rare to get a big miss from us. I think this was a big miss. I don't even see him working into the squad next year too much, especially if we're going to keep improving certain positions. So for me, it's almost like thanks for like stopping by type of thing. I had I've softened as well on this. When I jumped on the Litcast, I was about ready to tell anyone who would let me talk to them how much I hated COVID. And I didn't get it. I didn't get that. We don't make signings like that. Like it's not what we do. And I remember reading Pep was talking about kind of how the system needed to adjust at the beginning of the season, and there was going to be a lot more ball carriers, on the field as opposed to just putting it out wide in the wing. He wanted to run through the middle of the pitch a little bit more, et cetera, et cetera. And I got that. I was like, all right, Kovacic has these carry numbers and it's whatever. But I swear there were certain times where I was like, he's playing for the other team. Like I was like, what is going on here? This is terrible. And again, towards the end of the year, I think he figured it out and he was a little bit serviceable and he played a ton, to be honest with you. But those two signings for me, I was like, Jesus, what are we doing here? And I do think that Nunes, however you pronounce it, because I'm terrible with the Portuguese pronunciations too.
Right.
Nunch, but like I just think he's gone. I think it's over. I think it was a nice like little donation we made to the Wolves team. We felt bad for Gary O'Neill, and we're gonna sell him on maybe for a little bit less. Fine.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's have a conversation. The next supporters grade how understanding and supportive the general fan has been in the 23-24 campaign.
I'm going to lean on you here because I don't have as much context to this, and I feel like you're pretty close with those guys at the Snobby Pod, and I know that they've been talking about this a decent amount. I think it's an interesting, but I think it's an interesting topic that like you and I being level-headed human beings, like we're gonna be able to sit here and be like, it's a shade of gray on shade of blue for this topic, right? Like it's like
Yes.
It is. I think the appeal for European soccer, and especially in a country like England, is that a lot of these teams came out of a neighborhood, right? A lot of these teams are tied at their origin, are tied to a industry or even a small company in some of these towns, some of these cities in England. And I think that for me, learning about these stories really made it appealing to me as a fan. I think that's something you probably can relate to. You're a Packers fan, for Christ's sake. That is like the epitome of, it's like the only example in the United States where it's like, this team is a small town team, everyone is an owner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Like I think that is something that is so awesome and so appealing to me, and that's why I got really, really into European English football, whatever. I think that there's also a terrible side of this that is like, because I was born in the United States and I wake up at 6:30 in the morning and you wake up an hour earlier than I do because you're an hour earlier, like we feel, and we've talked about this when I had you on the pod last summer, we feel like our sacrifices to watch this team and to pay attention and to engage with this sport outweigh some of the, typical stereotypes that we're going to get as American fans, right? Like, I feel like we've done the due diligence, we've done the homework, we've spent the hours, we've put in the time, we've tried to engage and learn. And I think that there are times where I talk to people across the pond that are just like, don't give you any flowers or credence or like anything for that. And I think that's bullshit. So we're at a weird inflection point here where I know that Man City as a company, right? They want to make more profits. And I think that is something that we can talk about at any level of anything in anywhere, especially here in the United States. And I think that is something that a lot of those local fans are not happy with. And I get that. But I also don't want a local fan in Manchester to call me the problem because I love their team. Because I love their team as much to call it my team now, right? Like, I think that's a scenario that we're in. And I think that it sucks. I don't have a solution, Crunk, but I think it sucks. And I'm going to say that out loud first. Like, I think that this is so stupid. And I don't know how to fix it, but I want to point at the problem real quick. Like, I think that's the issue
Yeah.
right now.
No, you're
Outside of that, the support's been great,
yeah.
but
Yeah. You've nailed it. It's funny. I am now, I guess currently, not as intense on this subject as snobby boys are,
yeah,
as the Biddle banter people were, even Hollywood Kipaks. They kind of, but they're also still relatively new to the game. I also mean this in the nicest way. They're also white dudes, so like how
hey,
much like
I'm not taking any offense to
there
that, bro.
there yeah
Like,
there's
you're
there
good.
aren't many times where you guys feel it where someone's like, we don't like you guys for you being specifically who you are.
For
So
sure. For
I
sure.
understand why they get so upset about it. We Well, trust me, my first year I got us into so much trouble that like there were pods who wouldn't want to work with us just because I was so much of a friction. But they also are fucking assholes sometimes, and they think we're supposed to like kiss their ass, or like you said, I can't tell you how many times I've had a guest on and they won't be city based, they'll just be like a random club. But I do research. Like I'm in here,
Yeah.
I want to know what I'm talking about. And you can tell by the from the beginning to the episode to the end, the whole energy has changed. They went from, I'm gonna come on here, I'm gonna have to carry this conversation, and by the end of it, they're just like, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow.
Yeah.
Like I've had guests where they're literally going, I'll do my little thing, and then I'll lead up to the question, and they're just like, wow, great question,
Yeah.
wow. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, yes, can you answer it, please?
I think, yeah, I think that, like, man, I've had a few pods like that. Again, we did the summer series last year. I will shout out people who have been the opposite of that. And
Yeah. Oh,
and it's
yes.
almost like
Obviously,
you,
unfortunately, it's the negative. Obviously, kind of like sticks out
oh,
more, and
for
don't want it
sure.
to make it sound like it. But I mean, there's a reason why we work with so many people who aren't like my specific show bros, because we do tend to have a positive experience through it.
For sure. I think that what was unfortunate though, even with the people that were great about it, was I was overly conscious of like, I'm the American
Uh huh.
stalker, and like you yourself lose your personality, right? When you have to do
Yeah.
certain things like that, or if you like bend the knee to that type of stuff. But like, I talked to the FYP people at Palace; they were amazing. I mentioned Craig from Up the Cherries, in all regards, or all Up the Cherries. It's the Bournemouth pod that we
It's a
had
very
on.
long podcast. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
very long name.
he's our guy. Love him. And we also had a dude from the Newcastle podcast that were all great. But I have been in the same scenario where it's like, you Americans, why are you essentially trying to take the sport? And I think it's fucking fair for you to call out also like the Caucasianness. I'm not hiding. I'm white. I'm very white. So it's like I do feel kind of. I think I feel a little bit weird sometimes where I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't think I did anything wrong. Like what are you coming at me for type of thing? And like, I do think we need more voices for American podcasters. And I want to also say with that like I think our pod tries to be very conscious that we don't necessarily need more voices that look like all four of the guys on our pod too. Like I think that's something that is pretty key that we try to like say like, hey, there's other really, really great pods that are going to give you a more unique or different perspective or a better perspective than us four idiots can. And like, I think that's totally fair to your point. Like, I want to see the diversity of the American fan be like
Well,
double,
and I
triple,
and I and
quadruple
what
too.
I'm not even saying like anything about like diversity. I'm just saying
Yeah,
maybe the reason why I'm trying to give it an understanding is why they maybe are so like gung ho on it. I'm not.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm
I
black,
think
so
that
I'm
you're
rooting
hitting
for everybody black. But
it. Yeah, I got you.
I was just saying that maybe it was just
I
the fact that they aren't told you can't come here too
I think
much.
you're
So
right.
maybe that's why they felt it a little extra about
I
it.
think you're right. I think, and I was just trying to say, like, I think I probably had some of that. Like, I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, we're
Yeah.
we're all rooting for the same team here,
Right.
and I think it is like, but to get back to the main point, like, man, I get the fact that a season ticket going up 50 pounds now or 100 pounds, like that it sucks. There's certain things
Oh,
about our
100%.
team. There's certain things about our team I don't like. Like
Yeah.
we can be pretty honest about that.
Yeah.
I wish the money came from a different place. Like I'll straight up say it,
Yeah.
obviously.
Of
Like,
course.
but it's trying to navigate this scenario, which I think has probably got a little bit blown out of proportion too. But like, I want everyone to feel like, hey, if you're putting on Sky Blue or you're rooting for City, like we want to be on the same team here, and I want to make sure that season ticket is the right price for the people over there, just as much as I want you to be able to engage with us over here in America, in Mexico, in Canada, wherever the fuck we're at, and like you feel like the support from these fans as well. So delicate dance. I wanted to ask your perspective on it because I knew that you were a little bit closer to some of those guys that are pretty pissed off about it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yes. They and I honestly, I don't touch the subject anymore because I'm gonna be honest. We tried to once and we got fucking eaten alive, and it was not.
nice.
It wasn't fun because
Yeah,
we're already the problem, and then people just already feel like they can talk to us a certain way on top of it. So it became a lot. It became a lot. So like, yeah, we know it sucks, and
yeah,
I wish they would take it not from us saying it's worse for us, get over it. It's more of a, we literally know exactly what you're going through, and that's how we could why we can empathize, and we can honestly try to help you guys at to how to fight the power, maybe
yeah,
do something differently than what we're doing, or just in general how to accept and cope with the fact that you now have to make these like real decisions, and you can't just go see the club that you saw every single week for 90% of your life. You can't do that anymore. Now it has to be like once a month. That
yeah.
like that sucks. I feel for you. I don't want that for you. Like no, and I don't want to have to pay $400 just to see the Green Bay Packers play a football game. Like I don't want
Yes.
that either.
Yeah.
We're all angry. So it's just
Yeah.
like no need to get mad at us. Like and that's also how they keep winning, is by finding ways to get us to be mad with each other. And so as long
1,000%.
as we're looking at each other and not them, and that's half the reason why when people come at me about 115 and oil money and all that stuff, it's just like, are you really saying this shit to me, bro? Like I
Yeah.
have no this you want me to explain why I'm okay with trillionaire tendencies and problems and stuff? Like, bro, that is so above me. Like, do you even vote? Have you even
Yeah.
voted for your local elections? Like, if
Yeah.
you haven't voted for your local election, shut up to me about oil money. Shut up to me about 115. Like, honestly.
I'm right there with you. I have a lot of friends that complain about things, and most of the time we have the similar view. But I think that there's a perspective for things, like perspective on how to get things done. And I worked in politics for 4 years out of college, so like it hits a little bit closer to home for me. I get to the point with certain people where I'm like, yo, if you want to bitch about this, go knock on a door, please. Like, just like go do that. Like, go talk about it that way. But you can also join us next week when Crunk and I tackle the problems of capitalism on our new podcast. So,
Let's go.
yeah. So, but I wasn't trying to stir it up. I just was like, hey, I know that you know about this. I know that it's
Yeah.
something that, like, if we're gonna talk supporters, let's acknowledge it a little bit.
Yeah.
No real answers out of this, but it is one of those things where it's like, sucks for everyone, man. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna figure it out together. Let's do it that way.
Exactly. And that's what it is in a family. Yeah, it's one of these things. On our show, I was talking to the bros. We're actually gonna start doing in the new season a monthly episode called uh wow, my brain just melted. But basically we're just gonna talk about like the real things in football, which is
Yeah.
like, the ticket prices and the laws and real shit also.
Yeah.
So we're gonna embrace these things a little bit more, and it might make people a little annoyed and upset, but there are so many US based football podcasts that they just, I said it so much my second year. I'm just happy to be here. And now
Yeah.
we want more. I want
Yeah.
more. I know
Yeah.
we can do more. I know what we can do. So now it's just, the world takeover part of the whole system.
Loves it.
All right. Well, let's
In your
let's
NWO era, right?
yeah, basically let's
I
go.
wasn't I wasn't a big wrestling guy, but I know you are, so I tried to get a couple references in.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, so finally, the season
Yeah.
grade. how the club, Manchester City Football Club, did this 23-24 season.
No one's ever won 4 in a row. Pretty good, right?
I
No
think
one's
so.
ever won
Yeah.
4. I think like if we really want to, we can mic drop there. I think that I'm really hoping that if you're a Man City fan and you're over there, that you sent like liquid IV to the team bus or something. Because I saw some of those pictures after the celebration. Our boys need a rest, right?
I know. Yeah.
Holland had a 2,000-yard stare going because I think that he was really pounding the booze the other night. I don't know what his drink of choice is, but he was getting after it.
Well, and he's all muscle. He has like no
Yes.
fat, so I'm sure half a beer has him fucked up.
Plus, I have a feeling they haven't touched the stuff in a while, right? So it's
Right.
like the tolerance is already low because everyone in there is at max 145 pounds.
Right.
But also, it's just like they haven't drank in a while. So it is one of those things where I was like watching. I saw some of the pictures and I'm like, man, I really hope we're ready for the FA Cup. It's very selfish of me to think that, but like, really hope we're ready. I don't want to lose to United. They've had a terrible year. I would like that to continue. And I'm hoping we win that one. If you get a double, you don't have to get a double. This was an incredible year. No one's won 4 in a row. I will repeat that again. No one has won 4 in a row in English football. And I do think that you have a manager who, despite what may have been said in the post-game news conference, he wants a 5th because it's okay to do one better, but it's better in Pep's mind doing 2 better. And I think if you do a 5th in a row, it would be unheard of, right? The thing that I will say is I do think this Arsenal team is getting better, man, and they are going to be a worthy adversary next season too. But I look forward to it because we've done it twice. They bottled it last year, and we just beat them this year. Is kind of how I feel it. So, yeah, great season, 4 in a row. No one's ever done that. I'll say it again. No one has ever done that.
You'll never sing that, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
And I'm with you. Just amazing season.
Yeah,
Well,
A plus.
shoot. Right? A plus.
Yeah,
A plus. All right. Well, Shady Gang. Give it up a John. Always a pleasure. Let Shady Gang listeners, viewers, let them know how and where they can find you and the things you do.
Yep, NAFTA Pod, like mentioned before, NAFTAA, double A at the end. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. I think Stitcher is still around. I'm pretty sure you can find us there. Our IG is NAFTA Football, at NAFTA Football, NAFTAA Football. Follow us there as well. We do have a TikTok. It's been dormant for a little bit. Your boy got a new job, and the time was just, it could not spend it there. We're hoping to revive that a little bit in the summer. And again, interact with us, follow us. We do a pod at least once a week, sometimes twice, depending on the fixture congestion. And, we sometimes get to have great guests on like Crunk, and we're hoping to do that again this summer. So give us a follow. Pay attention, and hopefully I'm jumping back on one of your pods, getting to talk to your audience as well soon.
You will be back in Shades of Blue, Shady Gang. I will be back with another show soon, as it is content season, dropping an episode every other day. Utter madness.
And you will see me and Crunk in New York.
We'll see us in New York if you all gonna be out here. Hey,
exactly.
And you know the vibes. Shady Gang, Shady Gang, Shady.